Jacob, in the Book of Mormon, the son of Lehi, he wasn't distracted. He was one of the people in the Book of Mormon who was very isolated. It's almost like Jacob was a prisoner. Like, he had no society, no entertainment, no sports, no electronics. He was literally in the Saharan desert. But he had this great benefit of being isolated and being the son and the brother of prophets. And I'm wondering, there might be some correlations there in the meaning of his name, as far as, because if Jacob would have been raised in a modern household, he might not have been in tune with the Spirit. And so there's a great lesson for Jacob, is that we need to isolate ourselves. And Elder Nielsen has said we need to go to the temple. We need to intentionally make our phones absent sometimes. So Jacob didn't choose to be isolated, but we all have to have times in our lives where we are like Jacob, where we are isolated and we can feel the Spirit. And whatever that means, where we're by ourselves, where we can just commune with God and feel the Spirit, and be isolated, but like isolated in the sense of where we can just read the scriptures, where we can pray, where there's no distractions. And that could be my personal interpretation. Maybe Jacob was a spiritual person anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered if he was born in a more suburban or big city type of place or time. But he was taught to pray, and he didn't have a lot of distractions from praying. He was taught to do all those spiritual things. And the challenge for us in modern times is either we need to go live in the desert, or we need to plan on isolating ourselves. And isolation is good. And we have the temple. You go in the temple, you're isolated from everything. You're in a way, you're even isolated from talking and from reading the scriptures, because there isn't really a room to read the scriptures. They have scriptures in the front, when you walk in, and they have the celestial room, I think, has scriptures. But I don't know if people feel comfortable reading the scriptures for a long time in there. But we all have the choice. If you want to overcome the world, if your goal is to overcome the world, then you isolate from the world and you put yourself outside of your house, you put yourself in a room with no distractions, in a chapel, in nature, where your only option is to pray. On my mission, I had a time during my mission where I had to pray a lot, and I pray on the toilet. For one time it was an hour, for another time it was a long time. But that doesn't sound like a place you'd want to pray, but it was isolated. Because, on your mission you have a companion, so I couldn't just be like, well, I'm going to go walk down the street or whatever. I mean, I could have chosen a better way to pray, but whatever. The point is being isolated, even in a stinky or unappealing place, can be good if you're communing with the Spirit.